Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center. It's our favorite time of the week. We've got the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves right here on the table in front of me. Let's check them out. All right, first thing I want to talk about this week are two different companies that unfortunately I didn't get a chance to go visit at Blade Show this past weekend, and consequently didn't get to show some of their new product that they brought to the show. These aren't some of the new things they brought to the show, but I want to give a huge shout out to ESEE and to Tops, two of my favorite fixed blade companies, fixed blade people. They are my people. But alas, such is the consequence of only having two and a little bit of a third day to film stuff, unfortunately. So we're going to start today's video with the latest from them that have just hit our shelves. The first is something that, if you know me, you know I like. I like Nessmucky shaped things. This is the JG5, a James Gibson design from ESEE, and it is maybe a little more butcher knife shaped than Nessmuck shaped, but really splitting hairs there at this point. I love this style of blade so much. And it's a fairly good value for an American-made knife too, 125 bucks. For that, you've got a almost 5-inch blade, 1095 carbon steel, good, reliable stuff, and a nice crisp spine. You can hear it. So if you want to scrape stuff with it, whether it's bark or a fire steel to help get a fire going, or something that the original Nessmuck was sort of lauded as being handy for, with the hump here on the end, scraping the inside of hides for preparing them for tanning and that sort of thing, which is just pretty cool. The handle is a new color, a burgundy linen micarta with the similar, or should be pretty much the same scalloping pattern or tread pattern on it. Slim handled knife. It's not necessarily a hand filling grip, as you can see, but it is a precise grip in terms of what you can achieve with the knife. Very easy to control. It comes with a simply designed but superbly executed leather sheath. Sheath itself also made in the USA right there. Nice thick welt on the edge, as you can see. If you're looking for a hunting knife or a camp food prep or just general around camp usage knife, this thing is something that would definitely be on my list, especially in this price range where I'm looking for something today. Next up, we've got more of a slim concealable knife, and that's the Sneaky Pete Mini from Tops, about $105 here. Likewise, we've got 1095 carbon steel here with a sniper gray coating, as opposed to the non-coated blade on the ESEE, which many of their other knives are coated, but their Camp-Lore series typically has that blackened finish there. But back to the Tops anyway. Small clip point blade, about 2.5 inches, about a 3-finger grip on my hands, which of course are slightly larger than average. Your mileage may vary. But yeah, it's just a neat little clip point knife here. Comes with a sheath over here. No belt attachment hardware comes with it. This is primarily set up as a neck knife. There are 2 holes here near the end. They're not exactly parallel, but by threading through both of those holes, it should keep it from twisting around too much on your neck. Comes with the carabiner and the whistle as well. Actually, you could use the ball chain right there. You don't even necessarily need to supply your own cordage. I haven't checked, but let's see if it'll fit Tech-Lock hole spacing. Doesn't fit a large. There's a small one around here somewhere.
It's been a while since he's looked for it.
There we go. Let's check out the small. Doesn't fit a small Tech-Lock either, but I bet you a Civivi T-clip, anything with that modular for the center, or modular rail for the center, will be able to work on this. So some ulti-clips or a T-clip would work quite nicely. Man, got some good hold on that. I'll break in a little bit, of course, but there you go. Definitely not going to fall out. One more fixie before we get into some folders, and that is from Condor. And of course, we visited Condor at the show. I always got to go see my buddy Joe Flowers. This is the Kambo Puukko. Coming in about 76 bucks and some change. And this is an excellent, just around the campfire, small whittling knife. A good knife for smaller hands as well. As you can see, in terms of my hand size, it's really kind of a 3.5 finger grip. If I'm keeping my index finger back on this side of the small finger guard right there, I can certainly choke up on it and get all 4 fingers on there if I bridge that gap with my finger, and that feels good, man. The Micarta scales there really give it a sense of girth. Red liners give it pop of color, and I could see myself spending hours and hours using this around a campfire, whittling whatever, even if it's nothing, even if I'm just making curls on the floor or ground. If it's outside, it's called the ground. That would be a lot of fun. I may wind up, if I were doing that, I might round this a little bit actually. It's kind of a crisp edge, but a little bit of sandpaper would fix that, no problem. Man, that feels good. $10.95, I think. Nope, $10.75 in this case, so a little bit more toughness than your $10.95. Should really have organized this sheath pull a little more better. A little more better.
Then we wouldn't have clubs like that.
Can you tell I still haven't caught up on sleep from Blade Show? I mentioned I also have like a 1-month-old, so I'm working on it, But anyway, it comes with a leather sheath. Let me not slice it open there. And with the belt loop, you actually do have a snap closure there, so you could get this on and off of your belt without removing your belt if you want to. Very nice. One thing you could do, let's say you don't like that snap. I've done this on like a Zippo belt sheath before. Let's say you want to fix that snap in place. A little bit of JB weld in there would be a good thing for you. But there you go. All right, a little bit more Micarta to take a look at, and that's with Spyderco's Manix 2, now in the CruWear variation. So brown canvas Micarta and a CruWear blade. So really good toughness and edge retention out of that steel. And that toughness is going to be handy, especially on a blade like this, where the tip gets nice and fine. A little extra support never hurts anything. About 3 3/8 of an inch on that blade length, a little bit less on the sharpened length because you do have that choil area to choke up and get finer control over the blade. I really like the way they've finished this canvas Micarta. It's not a high polish, but it's not like a super ragged finish either. It's maybe leans a little bit more towards the ragged side, but it's not. It doesn't feel like fuzzy, you know? It just feels very grippy. Extra grip, of course, by all the jimping that the Manix design typically provides. That'd be internal jimping on the liners. And you've got the ball bearing lock, which operates similarly to a crossbar lock, such as Benchmade's Axis lock, but you've actually, instead of little Omega springs, you've got a spring shoving a ceramic ball, I believe it's still ceramic in these, into the tang of the blade. So self-adjusting over time and really strong lockup as well. It's a good EDC knife. I've always thought of this as a pretty decent tactical style knife, as long as you don't need something with a big like overbuilt blade thickness. This thing bridges the gap between those styles really, really nicely and is going to be able to get some good hard work done. Now, another knife that kind of bridges to tactical and EDC sides of things, and maybe leans more towards the EDC side, which for this genre is very refreshing. And that's the drop point version of the Benchmade Shootout that was dropped the day before the Blade show opened up. We got to take a look at it there at the show again. And I own a Tonto version, one of the original Tonto versions of this, because I liked how thin and slicey the blades were on it. And that continues to be the case with this knife right here. CruWear blade steel. Again, that extra toughness on a thin blade stock is nice. But I'm more of a drop point guy than the Tonto, so this excites me very much. We're coming in a little over $290 for these, 3.5 inches on that blade. CruWear, as mentioned, nice and slicey, as mentioned, almost a full flat grind. This is a knife that's not made to do anything but cut efficiently, which most of the time, what do you need a knife for? Cutting efficiently, right? This is not a big pokey self-defense necessarily, hard use beater of an OTF. It's an OTF designed to just blend seamlessly into your everyday carry scenarios. At least it will in mine. And it actually has a handle, like an actually designed handle that's just not kind of a pimped out rectangle, which I always like. The action's nice and snappy. The blade itself is actually centered in the handle, which is something you don't see often on an OTF as well, or either. And deep carry pocket clip, plenty of texture on that handle, so you've got a good hold on it. It's unlikely to slip on you. Reversible clip, so just as lefty friendly as the next knife, and just so good. 2 colors for now with the drop point. You've got the Ranger Green Grivery handles with the black DLC blade, as well as a version with the CF Elite, like the original. That's a carbon fiber reinforced nylon, and that comes with the bronze finish. And both of them are very light, about 2.75 ounces. Super easy to carry, plenty of reach for the weight you're carrying around as well. Next up, we've got another Vosteed, the Hedgehog, which continues to showcase the value they're offering and the innovation they're bringing to the price points that they're competing in. This is not a cheap knife. This is about $139, but for what you're getting here, it is kind of a lot. At least it feels like it. You got a 3-inch blade with this sheep's foot style. The blade is steel is S35 VN, so you've got a good strong feeling profile with a high performing steel. Handles are black frag milled aluminum, and you've got with what right now they're calling the top liner lock, although they may be working on a new name for it, which is basically their take on Spyderco's compression lock mechanism. Now that has been freed from patent, other companies are now able to do their thing with that technology, but they can't use the compression lock name because that's a Spyderco trademark. And we're still trying to come up with a good name. I had one that's kind of funny. I said spiner lock the other day, which is kind of funny because spine liner, but you can't say compression lock. You probably can't even say comp lock. I bet Spyderco could go after them for that. What about the competition lock?
How about zip lock?
Confusing.
Zip files are compressed.
I know exactly what you're going from there with that. And I'm here for it. I'll you know what? I take back my skepticism. That gets dad joke points right there. Anything? Any suggestions in the comments?
A proprietary one called the WinRare lock.
I knew you were going to say that. All right, let's stop with that nonsense and let's get back to the knife here. Whatever you want to call it, what they're doing is a button-actuated version of that lock where you have a liner on the inside, but instead of acting like a liner lock where it's a flat face on the flat tang of the knife, you've actually got a tab that sticks into part of the blade itself into a little cutout. Maybe spline lock. That could be something. Anyway, just speaking out of turn now. But back to the knife, that lock does give a very strong feel in that open position. There is no blade play on this whatsoever. It also allows finger-safe closing action in that your fingers never cross the path of the blade, and as you can see, you can do that flick open and close. You've got a flipper tab and thumb studs as well. So that's 2 methods of opening. That's 3 methods of opening. You've also got what could be used as a 4th method of opening in that fuller there. You could do the reverse flick. You could do a thumb open with that, no problem. But this is a working feeling knife. It's got the lockup you need. It's got that strong blade profile going on, and it's got a handle design and thickness and materials wise, the sense of sturdiness for a really solid feeling grip. The grips are maybe a little bit unusual, not in a bad way. It's just not obvious the way you should grip this best. Stick with me. So if I'm putting my index finger here, which would seem natural, it's kind of a 3.5 finger grip for me, but I can choke up. There's some jimping right here on what is the flipper tab on the other side, and I can get a real solid grip on that knife. Very hand filling, and I'm not even getting into that little choil area at all either. So I don't necessarily need that, but you've got it if you want to get a little closer. It feels super solid. I bet you this could take a good amount of abuse and dish out some abuse as well. Reversible pocket clip is nice since that is an easy lock to manipulate with the left hand. That is a nice touch as well. All right, now we've got a Kansept, the Nesstreet. Another finger-safe closing action with the button lock right there. Kansept as well, continuing to offer really good value for what you're getting. We've got for about $116 a Damascus steel blade, and this is not a powder metal version. Thomas, remind me again, are they using like 10 CR? 9 CR for their base. So that's solid stuff for a Damascus-like it is a pattern welded steel here, revealed, of course, by the acid etching right there. So appropriate for the price for sure. Carbon fiber handles, full length liners, single-sided pocket clip. Slightly unfortunate since, again, lefties will have no problem using that lock. Might have been nice to have the pocket clip be reversible on that side. As far as the action goes, feels pretty good. Yeah, the thumb studs work really nicely. The wrist flick also works really nicely. Feels good in the hand, and I like the drop to the edge here. You're really going to be able to use a lot of that belly thanks to that angle of handle to blade right there. And you'll be able to use the tip really nicely since it doesn't rise up too much. In a way, it's almost kind of like a modified Wharncliffe shape. It bridges, it's one of those things, it's kind of in between. It's kind of spear pointy, but it's more stylized. I think in the way you use the tip, it'll feel a little bit more like a Wharncliffe than any kind of spear point or drop point. You tell me, what's the blade shape? And they can't even say reverse tanto on this one. There you go. Other flavors are also available if you'd prefer. I should mention what some of those other flavors are, of course. There's a version with a copper carbon fiber for about $134. And there's versions with 154 cm, which aren't strictly new, but those are available in the series if you want to check them out. Next up, we've got a crossbar locking knife from Ohlone. This is the Goat AXL V2. These are made actually by Riot Knives for them. And it is Riot's first crossbar lock, or at least it was when it appeared on the version 1 of these knives. So very premium construction. Riot, of course, makes world-class stuff, and the price is going to reflect that. This is a $450 knife right now that comes with some upgrades over the standard versions. For about $275, you can get it with L-Max, bead-blasted titanium, and frost fat carbon inlays. This version comes with a Damas steel blade, so that's a powder metal version of a Damascus, with copper camo fat carbon for the $450 mark. Pure cutting performance, you're probably going to be better served by the L-Max version. That should outlast the edge on this Damas steel product, which is based on RWL 34, so that's roughly your CPM 154, or metallurgically it's the same composition right there, but it's not going to have the same look. So what are you looking for your knife to do and look like is going to determine which one is right for you. The action doesn't fully close as like fluidly as some other crossbar locks out there. It's certainly very smooth feeling, just has a little bit more resistance. But part of what that gets you, even if you lose a little bit of that ultimate flickiness, is if you're using the thumb studs, it has a little more resistance that gives it a better feel, almost a clickier, snappier feel when you use the thumb studs. So again, trade-off there for you to consider. Sculpted pocket clip of titanium as well. What I really like about this knife, though, is the contouring on the handles. It is understated and elegant and feels very, very good. Blade shape ain't half bad too either. Actually, I really like that blade shape too. Next up, let's transition to a couple slip joints, broken up by a fixed blade. But we've got the Suprlativ The Comanche slip joint, which is a little bit bigger in person than I thought it was going to be based on photos. But these are coming in about $295, sorry, $294 right now. And Suprlativ is a collaboration project, of course, between Jared Oser and Enrique Pena. I think this knife has a little bit more of the Pena DNA in its design. You've kind of got a bit of a sway back shape with this. Say it. Say it.
Why don't you say it?
Modified Wharncliffe blade. I feel dirty now. Fine, reverse tanto.
Team reverse tanto.
We'll call it a reverse tanto to make Thomas happy. Very stylish blade, no matter what it's called. Completely straight edge as well, so it really does fall into more of that true Wharncliffe style, even though it's not quite as graceful of a taper or a curve here at the back. M4 blade steel, so it's going to be nice and tough in addition to holding an edge really well. Not stainless, pretty not stainless, I should say. So make sure you take care of it. But hollow ground as well, which is something you don't often see on steels like M4. Suprlativ and Pena have done it, but you don't see it too often. But you're going to have a very thin blade right behind the edge as a result, which is going to be really nice. The handles are titanium with integral bolsters. This one has Mars Valley fat carbon inlays on the front and back. It's screw together construction, and I like the captive plate here on the front, from which you will screw in from the back. It creates a nice look, and a shield in the same blasted titanium to go along with it. Let's check out the walk and talk. Very nice indeed. Check out that closed profile. Definitely makes a statement in the open or the closed position. It does come with a leather pocket slip because, of course, there's no clip on this. This will help you to keep a little nicer in your pockets, both from other things bumping into it and from it scratching up other things as well. All right, next we come to a Jack Wolf, but it's surprise, it's not a fixed, it is a fixed blade. It's not a slip joint this time around. They've taken their Midnight Jack and turned it into the Midnight FIXedc, fixed with a C on the end. Here it is. And I am really liking this little guy. They come in about $235. You can get it with this Starburst titanium finish with some really nice milling. You've got black linen micarta, fat carbon purple haze. There's an Ultim option and even an abalone option, which they're all coming in at about $235, which is pretty cool. Blade, straight up sheep's foot. No modified, no reverse tanto, none of that nonsense. Straight up sheep's foot here with a a full height hollow grind, really nice horizontal grain finish on it, and really fine, narrow, thin, sharp edge. So in terms of the handle length, it's a 3.5 finger grip here, but especially with this milled pattern on it, it feels quite secure in my hand. Really interesting placement of the lanyard hole. It kind of points in the downward direction. They could have put it on the back, they could have put it on the top side. They went with putting it right here. And for me anyway, that would cause it to naturally, whatever fob you put on there, to naturally fit between my pinky and ring fingers right there, which is going to make it very easy to get a grip on it. And if you want that extra grip that a lanyard can provide, that's a cool place for it to sit. Interestingly done, and I see what you're doing there, and I like it. It comes with a pocket sheath. Hooray, more pocket sheaths on the market. It is something I am very happy to see, very fond of the genre, as some of you have probably already guessed. Very narrow opening when you first get it. Don't let that scare you. As you can see, it needs a little help. Once it gets broken in, it's not going to be a problem, but as you first get the knife, you might have to do that little pinch to allow it to get in there. Once it starts to mold to the knife itself and really hug the shape of your blade, that's going to be a non-issue, and that shouldn't take very long at all. The clip has a little bit of that J-style hook on the end to give it a little extra retention, so it's not just going to slip out of your pocket. That's going to make it very easy, or that's going to help it stay in the pocket when you're drawing the knife as well. Not likely to pull the sheath out with the knife itself. Very, very nice. Really nicely finished edges, nice stitching, embossed logo on the front, and just a really cool utility knife. I mean, S90V, tons of edge retention on something like this, and it's just classy to boot. Very, very cool. Quick note before we move on from this knife is, even though I'm showing it today on the Thursday that this video posts, these are officially dropping tomorrow, the day after this video posts. The exact time may be on the product page for this if you follow the links in the description, but in any case, these should be available tomorrow. Oh, also forgot to mention the packaging. Most Jack Wolf slip joint knives come with the tube with custom artwork for each new release. Well, we don't get a tube with the fixed blade, but we do get this box right here with custom artwork. And this also has like a kind of vintage vibe to it. This almost looks like an old VHS tape case in a way, or a DVD box set anyway. But even DVDs are like vintage now, aren't they?
Quite.
Yeah.
Back in my day, the internet came in the mail.
Sure did. Did you have it on the CD? Or did you have it on a little floppy disk thing?
It was a zip drive. Why we gotta call it the Ziploc?
Sure, why not, Thomas? Oh, and actually, this might not have been intentional. It almost looks like it's saying Volume 1 right here. Now back to a slip joint. We've got some of the new case knives that we got to show in our Blade Show video. The natural bone with American flag shield inlay, and this one right here is the Razor, which is of course the vault pattern knife for this year. So they're only going to be making this pattern for this year, and then it's going to go back in the vault for some indeterminate amount of time. This one coming in about $68. You've got that razor tip or razor edge style blade, hollow ground, stainless steel. I believe this is a stainless steel. Ooh, no, this is a carbon steel one. I stand corrected. That's pretty sweet. I like carbon steel. Really gonna look nice once it takes on a patina and really lives up or lives into its role as your new pocket knife. Action feels very good. You've got that half stop. Yeah, just very nice all around. Check them out while they are around. All right, now for something that was a bit of a surprise to me, maybe to you too. When you hear the words custom knife factory, what do you think? Expensive, right? They typically are quite a few dollars to get your hands on. Well, we've got the two more affordable, far more affordable custom knife factory models to take a look at right now. They are not cheap knives. They're coming in at $150 with G10 and S35 VN steel, but they are built very nicely. They feel good in the hand. And you tell me which design you like better. We've got the Echo Trol, and we've got the Echo UM right here. Both about the same. You're about 3 1/4 inches on the blade, and closer to 3.5, about 3.5 on the Trol right there. I really like the elliptical drop point going on here. And maybe not elliptical is the wrong word, but the drop point's very nice with continuous curve to that belly. Very, very sharp indeed. Stone washed finish, which is gonna look nice as you use it, since scratches tend to blend in, of course. The G10 is sculpted a little more nicely, in my opinion anyway, than on the You've got faux inlays with a diamond pattern, a little bit of beveling here, and a really subtle but nice pinky finger groove here at the back. I like that. And it fits my hand just about perfectly, this particular length. We have a wire pocket clip, as you can see. It's not reversible, but this is a right-hand biased lock, of course, that being an inset liner lock. Let's check out the flipping action. No worries there. Ball bearings, of course, as you would expect. Full flat grind with a full length swedge. It's gonna be pretty slicey, but there's some strength there too. It's not a super slim blade, but it should be still pretty efficient. The blade on this also looks very striking. I like the kind of clip point styling, and that deep swedge on it is very nice. I'm less enamored of the handle. It's got kind of a faux worm groove thing going on, and otherwise is flat. The pivot hardware and the backspacer hardware here, however, is definitely more interesting with the offset flathead thing going on. The liner lock is not inset, but works just as nicely. Flipping action works great. Still a full-handled grip, or full-handed grip on this knife. Let me see, compare this to... You know, if I were like really working the knife hard, I actually might prefer this slightly smaller one. It's got a less sophisticated feeling handle, but a kind of girthier grip as well. I don't know, it's hard to explain. This one maybe is just more ideal for a heavy push cut. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. The taper, it's down to the taper here at the back. Those last two fingers in your hand do a lot of the gripping. That's where a lot of your grip strength comes from, and this just has more of it. So as such, it feels like an even more secure hold on that knife. All right, now for in terms of modern folders at least, definitely the first true budget knife on the table. I mean, the case is relatively affordable, but you know, coming up on 70 bucks, it's not necessarily budget. The same thing with the Condor there, but here we go. The Petrified Fish magazine. I mean, Petrified Fish is absolutely killing it in terms of value for dollar. This is a $37 knife, and gosh darn it, it feels like should be way more money than that. Almost a 4-inch blade. We're like 3.86 drop point, almost a full flat grind, D2 steel. Nothing exotic, of course, but D2 will hold an edge a very good long time, putting it up there with some super steels like S30V even, if the heat treat's done right. For this kind of money, that's really, really nice. Micarta handles, and not just slabs. There's a bit of contour, as you can see here from the back. There's a bit of milling, a bit of shaving here, a milled character line in the center. I mean, it could have been way simpler for this kind of money and still been a very good deal, but when you throw those things that just feel a bit nicer, it's almost criminal how little money this cost you. Really, really nice. Speaking of the styling of that, it is magazine, as said, so definitely has that kind of banana clip look going on. You want to load your sidearm with something like, or your long gun with something like this. Feels comfortable too, man. It fills the hand really nicely. It's another great heavy working feeling knife. Ball bearings in the pivot. Nice robust liner lock there. I mean, that's not thin liners. There's definitely some lock strength there. If they managed to do a two-blade version of this, you could call it a double stack magazine. Bandolier? That's the sheath they're gonna come with. It's gonna come with a shoulder strap. If they made it an assisted, it would be a semi-automatic.
Got nothing.
More jokes in the comments to come. Dude, like, I've said it before about petrified fish, and even so, every time a new, good new design like this comes out, I cannot believe how good they are for the money. I really can't. Let's look at something much smaller from the same brand and far more unusual. This is the Hummingbird frame locking knife from Petrified Fish, about $97 for this. And no, this is not a small bait fish. It may look like you might be able to use it to catch bigger fish, but this is a little bit of a curiosity design. It's a 1-inch blade, or at least from tip to scale here, or tip to handle, it's about 1 inch. Sharpened edge is about 2 inches. And this is gonna be, speaking of sharpening, or sharp, a little tricky to keep this area sharp because the handles, I keep saying scales, handles will probably get in the way a little bit. You will have to get a little creative in how you approach a stone or strop or anything with this. So it's a little bit more of a kind of curiosity. I don't know if I mentioned that word earlier or not. You do have a milled pocket clip. You do have titanium. You do have a powder metal blade in that M390. But it's maybe a little trickier to use. Kind of it's charming though. It's like charmingly flawed, I would say. Flips nicely. You got a really sweet, fine tip on there. You're just gonna have to, if you like what you see here, live with its foibles. And if you can, it's certainly built superbly. It might be the most expensive petrified fish knife I've ever held. And it's also the smallest petrified fish knife I've ever sold. Held. But I don't actually sell any of these. I just tell you about them. I'm just looking on the site real quick. Yeah, it is indeed the highest priced petrified fish on the site. There are some fixed blade belugas with N690 steel getting up there like $93. But there you go. Last but not least, another attainable knife, slightly above the $50 mark, coming in just under 60 bucks. New versions of the Bestech Ivy. No longer constrained to the higher levels of the Bestech lineup. Those versions had titanium and probably M390 if I'm remembering correctly, but a powder metal blade in any case. It might have been S35, but they were never this inexpensive. Sandvix 14C28N steel on this mild hawkbill blade and G10 handles. This is the grape flavored version, but other flavors are available. And it's just a cool oh stop hell design. It flips really nicely. We've got a liner lock there and crisp flipping action with ball bearings in the pivot. And I like this mild recurve for actual utility. Karambits and such, hawkbill blade is a very popular shape for self-defense, but it can also be very utilitarian. That shape can kind of gather things into itself as it cuts, especially when you're working on the draw cut. That tip is going to shear through things really nicely because of that downward sweep to the tip. And cutting through cardboard too. You're not likely to less likely to slip out of the cut with a blade like this. But the more aggressive the hawkbill is, the harder it is to sharpen. So this one, you got just a little bit of that hawkbill shape going on. You're gonna be able to keep it sharper longer and still gain some of the benefits of a hawkbill blade. Very, very cool. All right, that's all I've got to show you for this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And of course, to get your hands on any of these, check out the links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're there, don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because the least thing we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. And that's Thomas behind the camera. Sorry, buddy. See you next time.